What is going on, everybody? LaggingLelandYT here, back with another review, and we're back, guys. It took me a while to get my PC, it took me a while to get my mic, but we're finally back, and what better way to kick off the new year than to talk about Puss in Boots 2, The Last Wish. In my opinion, I think this is the best movie of 2022. This, by far, is definitely one of the best DreamWorks movies that we've ever gotten, one of the best animated movies that we've ever gotten, and definitely the best animated and best film, overall film, of 2022. Oh my gosh, is this movie amazing. I'm afraid I'm going to be here for like 40 minutes just gushing about it, talking about how amazing it is. Everything about it is awesome. It's honestly... It's been so long since it feels like it's been so long since we've had a Spider-Verse movie. Like, you know what I mean? A movie that is near perfect. A near perfect movie. I really can't think of anything that's wrong with this movie. Honestly, I honestly cannot think of anything that's wrong with this movie. If you guys are looking for something to watch and you want to watch this in theaters, if you were thinking, hey, maybe I'll go check out Puss in Boots 2, go watch Puss in Boots 2. Oh my gosh, is it amazing. Everything about it is near perfect. The only thing I would say that is not perfect is its humor. I feel like Shrek had a better, I feel like Shrek just in general had better humor, but everything else, Puss in Boots takes the cake. Everything else. Puss in Boots' animation is obviously, this movie's animation is inspired by, it's inspired by Spider-Verse. It is awesome. I love that every single time the frames drop, you just knew something awesome was about to happen. I feel like this movie might be like Spider-Verse, where every single frame of it has something to offer, but we just need to wait until it's out on DVD and on streaming for all of us to just look closer into it. You know what I mean? So, again, if you are thinking, hey, maybe I'll check out Puss in Boots 2, or maybe I kind of am interested in Puss in Boots 2, go watch it. And another thing, you do not have to watch Puss in Boots 1 or the Puss in Boots cartoon or any of the Shrek movies to understand this movie, to watch this movie and appreciate it. You can watch those things and maybe it would make the viewing a little bit better because you'd understand a little bit more about this character, but this movie does such a good job at telling you about these characters and giving you such a very quick explanation and introduction as to who these characters are, to where you don't have to watch any of the other movies or any of the other things. The only thing from the first movie that returns in this one is Kitty Softpaws, Puss's love interest, and also one of his companions. That is really the only thing from the first movie that returns. And even then, if you did not see the first one, this movie does such a good job at explaining who that character is in a very short amount of time, while also being able to continue the story. Again, if you're thinking, oh, but I need to watch Shrek movies and Puss in Boots movies, no, just go watch this movie. You can go ahead and watch this movie without watching anything else Puss in Boots related. So, without further ado, let's talk about the actual movie, because I feel like we've already spent 3.5 minutes on an introduction because of how good it is. Oh my gosh, where do we even start? First of all, let's just talk about the idea for this movie. The idea for this movie is perfect. Puss in Boots, we all know Puss in Boots. Even if you're not a big Puss in Boots fan, you can pretty much make out that he's a little bit of a Sonic the Hedgehog. He's egotistical, but very powerful. He has this kind of legend going around about him, and he embraced that legend, and that's kind of his entire lifestyle. And this movie, it feels like the story is the perfect place to take Puss in Boots' arc, to take his story. It feels perfect. The idea of him being on his last life, he's already ran out of his 9 lives and he has 1 more left. That is such a good idea for a movie. I cannot express how good of a place that is to take Puss in Boots' story. And the way that they execute it is amazing. Perfect in my opinion. Again, such a perfect idea for this character and for this story. A perfect place for it to go. So the other thing I want to talk about really quickly, I could just talk about this movie all day if I wanted to. Death. Death is honestly one of my favorite DreamWorks villains. Death is so well executed in this movie. Usually if you think about a character like a Grim Reaper character or Death itself in a movie, something along those lines, you'd usually think of a character that goes like, I am Death. Something kind of really dark, or I am death. Something kind of dark, right? This one is way more calm. Everything about this character is so good. He is an amazing villain. I swear Disney's been lacking on their villains for the past couple decades. This this is an amazing villain. DreamWorks has not stopped with their amazing villains. Everything about him is amazing. His motive is amazing because he's just the Grim Reaper, but the way you have to watch this movie to understand it a little more. But oh my gosh, I love the way that he thinks about Puss in Boots and the way that he perceives Puss in Boots, because he's like, oh, I want to kill this legend. I want to kill the infamous Puss in Boots, you know? And I love the idea. There was one scene, he goes, the idea of 9 lives is absurd to me. That he really, stuff like that just adds so much more to the dynamic. And I love his design. The design, everything about him, the way that he's presented, his weapons, the scenes that he's in, everything about him, his whistle, they are so menacing. They're menacing, and the way that he talks, I love it. I mentioned earlier, it's not a deep or evil voice. It's a very calm voice. The way that he talks, it's a little unsettling as to how calm he is, because he acts like a character that is overpowered, because he is a character that's overpowered. He's not crazy with that power either, you know what I mean? I love everything about him. He's so menacing. He is so menacing. Such an amazing villain. Probably one of my new favorites. I think I still have some other favorites, like you still got Ramses and you still got the fairy godmother from Shrek, but this right here is definitely one of the greats. I love this villain so much. I want to do a whole video just talking about how good he is. Everything about him is amazing. So I'm already 7 minutes in. I haven't even talked about the rest of the movie. Oh my gosh, there's so much to talk about. So one thing about this movie that is really, really good is the fact that there's a lot of characters in this movie that you'd think would get annoying. There's this little sidekick of Puss that he gets a name, and it's Perrito, if I'm not wrong. This little dog, you'd think that it would get annoying. This little dog would get annoying, and thank God he's not, because these writers and these directors were so good that they introduce a lot of characters that really could have been annoying if they were not handled well, but they are handled so well that they become likable characters. There's two, I guess, characters you could say. It's kind of hard to say in particular. One is Perito, because he's this little dog who talks a lot, and you'd think, oh my gosh, if they give him bad dialogue, bad jokes, or bad dialogue, bad jokes, or just overall a bad voice, you'd think that this would be a character that can get super annoying. But they give him a good voice, they give him good lines to say, he's performed very well, and he becomes a likable character. His whole design is very cute. I love everything about this character. He's a very fun character. Then you have you have Goldilocks and her bears, and they have these British accents. And again, if they were not handled well, I think these could have become unlikable characters. But because they're handled well, because they have good voice actors playing them, good voices, good performances, and good designs, good dialogue to say, they are really likable characters. I like the Bear family in Goldie. They're good characters. They also have some depth that you'll get to see later in the movie. I love it. It's amazing. So this really just tells you how they could have screwed up so easily by giving these characters bad voices or bad lines to say, giving them too much screen time, but they give every character just enough screen time to where they're perfectly executed. And I love that. It just shows how good the filmmakers in this movie were. It shows how good the choices were as well. Everything about it is great. I love how in this movie, it kind of feels like an Indiana Jones adventure. You have this artifact or this item that everybody's looking for. And you have Puss in Boots, Kitty Softballs, and Burrito looking for it. You've got Death chasing down Puss in Boots. You've got Jack Horner, who we'll talk about in a sec. You've got Goldie and the Bears. You got all these characters that are looking for this treasure. And again, they give every single character just enough screen time to the point where I think it is amazing. And I feel like this movie is just incredible with everything. They do everything so perfectly and so flawlessly. And again, I like that it feels like an Indiana Jones adventure. I see Puss in Boots as a character who goes after bandits and villains, and he's like Robin Hood. But I also see him as maybe like a treasure hunter. I could definitely see Puss in Boots as this kind of guy who's like, okay, I'm running out of lives. Let me go after the wishing star. I could definitely see Puss in Boots as that character. And again, I feel like that works perfectly into the story. And let's talk about Jack Horner. I like Jack Horner a lot because Jack Horner does not have that bad of a backstory. You again with another character like Jack Horner, you could make him annoying if you have him with a bad voice or you have him with bad dialogue, bad lines. Maybe he's too much of a jerk, an unlikable jerk. They do such a good job at handling him as well. He doesn't get as much screen time as some of the other characters, and I think he gets a little bit more screen time than Death, but he's still handled extremely well. I love this dude. He's like a jerk, but that's kind of all there is to his character. You don't need really that bad of a backstory. He has a pretty quick backstory. It's just, I'm not going to explain it here, but it's kind of funny as well. I love how he has this bag with all of these mystical artifacts from like fairy tales, kind of like something you'd see in Indiana Jones. Maybe all these artifacts, you know. Um, you'd have this character with all these like he uses unicorn horns as crossbow darts. He has like Jiminy Cricket in his bag and he pulls them out and stuff. That stuff's funny, you know. He pulls out like the phoenix and he uses it as a flamethrower. That's funny as heck. I love it. I love Jack Horner. I love his design too, with like his little legs and his huge body. Like he kind of reminds me of Kingpin. And again, I think like all of the characters in this movie, he's very well executed. He doesn't need that much of a backstory. He doesn't need to be a twist villain. He's just a jerk, and I love that. He's just pure evil. I also this movie has a surprising body count. It has a surprising kill count. There are a lot of people that die in this movie. Not to mention, Puss also bleeds in this movie. Puss in Boots gets sliced by Death, and also because you don't see animated blood a lot in movies, it adds so much more to this scene because you don't see it a lot. So when it does happen, it really feels impactful. It really does feel like it's important. And I love how DreamWorks is willing to put blood in their story and in their movie for storytelling purposes, while Disney's still over here like, oh, we can't show this, we can't show that. DreamWorks, since day one, like the Prince of Egypt, look at that, Prince of Egypt, whole Nile, blood. And Puss in Boots, I guess Prince of Egypt walked so Puss in Boots could run. Again, love this movie. They really do try to take some risks with that. They show a little bit of animated blood, not that much, but it's very meaningful to the story, and it's very meaningful in just animation in general. Obviously, Puss in Boots 2 is inspired by Spider-Verse, and maybe since it's inspired by Spider-Verse, Puss in Boots 2 will inspire other movies to take that chance, to take some risks. I love that. I really hope it does make a bigger impact. Maybe not bigger than Spider-Verse, but make an impact. I really hope this does, because this could help other movies be able to show more violence, to be able to show more blood. Again, that's not something that every movie needs to have, but if you're allowed to do that, it can just allow for so much more in a story. This movie is a perfect example of that. I really want to talk real quick about the animation. I've basically talked about a lot of the things that I love, but let's talk about the animation. The animation is obviously inspired by Spider-Verse with its I think it's called animating on ones if I'm not wrong. Uh that is awesome. Every single time the frames dropped in this movie, I knew that some good crap was about to happen. Some good stuff was about to show up. Every time you could just tell that there was going to be a good action sequence. There was going to be a good scene coming up. The fight scenes in this are amazing. Again, anytime that you see that they're doing animation on ones, There was going to be some amazing animation coming up, amazing scenes. The animation and the style of this movie, I love the style of Spider-Verse, and I hope that we get to see more of it in the future. The bad guys had a little bit of that style, but I think this movie really did push it a little bit more. I loved it. I love the style of Spider-Verse so much, and I love seeing it in a Puss in Boots movie. There's rumors of a Shrek 5 coming out. Hopefully it doesn't have that same animation, mostly because I feel like it could work with Puss in Boots and a lot of other movies, but I don't feel like it could work with a Shrek movie. I just feel like animation on ones just would not look right if it was Shrek. Again, animation phenomenal. I love it. I love it. It's stylized. It's not realistic. It's stylized, and I love that. Everything about this movie, you could tell the backgrounds, the animation, the amount of effort in again, I love that. They put effort into this movie. They put effort into the jokes. They put effort into the characters. They put effort into the story. They put effort into everything about this movie. And I love that. The music in this movie is pretty good. The cinematography in this movie is pretty good. I don't know if you'd really say cinematography, but the storyboard, like the way that everything is presented, the way that everything happens, it's all amazing. And I think that's basically everything that I have to say about this movie. Not to mention everything when it came to the voice acting was amazing. Definitely go check this movie out if you can. This is just a phenomenal movie. I loved everything about it. Everything about this movie I loved. Again, I would say that this is the best movie of 2022. Best animated movie of 2022, and definitely one of my favorite animated movies of all time. I already loved Puss in Boots as a character, and this movie is just, it takes that character and it takes that story to another level. Everything about it is awesome. I know I'm saying awesome and amazing over and over again, but it's really just to try and get this message across of how good this movie is. I feel like if you want to watch something good, if you've been saying, oh, all these animated movies I've been seeing from Disney suck, go check out some DreamWorks movies. If you didn't like the first Puss in Boots movie, you're going to like this one. If you liked Spider-Verse, you're going to like this movie. If you're just looking for some animated movie to watch and you say, hey, should I go take my kid to go watch Strange World or should I watch Puss in Boots? Watch Puss in Boots. Strange World, Avatar, screw those movies. This is the movie that needs to make $1 billion. This is the movie that needs to make $1 billion. Again, one last thing. Go watch this movie. I loved it. I loved everything about this movie. And I want as many people to check it out as they can. I know I recommend a lot of people. And I know I talk a lot about, I recommend, not a lot of people. I recommend a lot of movies. But I know I talk a lot about, go watch this movie, go watch this movie. I highly recommend it. I mean it this time. Go watch this movie. If you're saying, I should go watch Avatar 2, don't watch Avatar 2. Don't watch some weird blue monkeys. Go watch Puss in Boots kicking butt in amazing animation and a near masterpiece of a movie. I have no complaints with this movie at all. Other movies I have complaints. This one, zero complaints. Some things maybe could have been done better, but I still think they were done incredibly well. That's basically it out of me. Go watch this movie. Go watch this movie. But thank you all so much for watching. I have my new mic, so I'm going to be making more videos. Expect a lot more videos to be coming out soon. This is the first real video of 2022. I know it took me a while, but we're back. We're back, guys. I'm going to be streaming every day at 6 o'clock or around 5 o'clock. 5 to 6 o'clock, I'm going to be streaming. So make sure you go check out my live streams. Hop on, ask me some questions. I'm always hanging out with my friends. Always reviewing the Fortnite item shops. Please make sure to like and subscribe if you enjoyed this review and you want to see more from me. There's going to be a lot of better stuff coming out soon. Again, this is my first video experimenting with the mic and experimenting with CapCut on BC. So make sure to subscribe, make sure to like. Also, let's see if we can hit 500 likes on this video. 100 or 500. Either one, I'll be happy. But thank you all so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. Make sure to go check out Puss in Boots: The Last Wish. Incredible, incredible movie. Thank you all so much for watching. I appreciate it. If you want to give me anything on Fortnite, my epic is LaggingLelandYT. Make sure to hop on the live streams. Make sure to like and subscribe. Make sure to share this video with your friends. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you all next time.